Welcome to OptinexTech. In this tutorial, we'll be creating a fully customizable and dynamic carousel component in React. In this video, I'll guide you step by step on how to build a carousel with auto-slide functionality, smooth transitions, and intuitive navigation arrows and indicators. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned developer, by the end of this video, you'll be able to add a sleek and responsive carousel to your React projects. So, let's get started. We have already created React project. Inside Components folder, create new folder named Carousel which contains two files, index.jsx for component logic and carousel.css for custom styling. Moving to index.jsx, we import the necessary hooks from React, use state and use effect. We also import our CSS file for styling. Next, we define our carousel component. It takes three props: images, which is an array of image URLs, auto slide, which determines if the carousel should automatically slide, and interval, which sets the time between slides. We use state to initialize current index to 0. Now, we create two functions, next slide and prev slide. Next slide updates the current index to the next slide, looping back to the first slide if we're at the end. Similarly, prev slide moves to the previous slide, looping back to the last slide if we're at the beginning. Next, we use effect to implement the auto slide feature. If auto slide is true, we set an interval that calls the next slide function every few seconds, defined by the interval prop. We also return a cleanup function to clear the interval when the component unmounts or the slide changes. In return statement, we start with the main container for the carousel, which has the class name carousel container. Next, we create the left navigation button. It has the class names carousel arrow and left, which we'll use for styling. When clicked, it calls the prev slide function to move to the previous image. The button displays a left arrow symbol using the HTML entity. Now, we define the div that will contain the slides. It has the class name carousel slide. We apply an inline style to control the sliding effect by using transform, translatex. This moves the current slide into view based on the current index. The calculation minus current index into 100% adjusts the position dynamically as the user navigates. Inside the slide container, we map through the images array to render each image. Each img element has a unique key based on its index. The src attribute is set to the image URL, and we provide an alt attribute for accessibility, indicating which slide it is. We also conditionally apply the class active to the current slide and inactive to the others. Next, we create the right navigation button. Similar to the left button, it has the classes carousel arrow and right. When clicked, it calls the next slide function to move to the next image. This button displays a right arrow symbol using the HTML entity. Finally, we include the indicators at the bottom of the carousel. This div has the class name carousel indicators. We again map through the images array, but we don't need to use the image URL here, so we use underscore as a placeholder. Each span element represents an indicator for a slide, and we conditionally apply the active class to the indicator corresponding to the current slide. Clicking on an indicator updates the current index to that specific slide. Finally, we export the carousel component for use in other parts of our application. We start with the carousel container class. Setting position relative allows us to position child elements like the navigation buttons absolutely within this container. The width is set to 100% to take the full width of its parent, but it's capped at a max width of 600 pixels for better readability. We center the carousel using margin 0 auto. Finally, overflow hidden ensures that any part of the slides that moves outside this container will be hidden from view. Next, we style the carousel slide. We use display flex to lay out the images in a row. The transition property creates a smooth sliding effect when we change the transform property to shift the current slide into view. Now we style the images within the slides. The min width 100% ensures each image takes the full width of the carousel container, while height auto maintains the aspect ratio of the images. Next, we style the navigation arrows using the carousel arrow class. We set their position to absolute, so they can be positioned freely within the carousel container. Top 50% positions them vertically centered, and transform translate y, minus 50%, ensures they are perfectly centered. The background color is semi-transparent black for visibility, and we style the text to be white. We also add padding for a better click area and set cursor pointer to indicate that these are clickable elements. The Z-index 2 ensures the arrows appear above other elements. Then, we differentiate the left and right arrows. The left arrow is positioned 10 pixels from the left edge of the container, while the right arrow is 10 pixels from the right edge. Now we style the carousel indicators using the Carousel Indicators class. Setting position absolute allows us to position them relative to the container. We place them 15 pixels from the bottom of the carousel and center them horizontally using left 50% and transform translate x -50%. This ensures the indicators are always at the bottom center of the carousel. Next, we style each individual indicator. We give them a height and width of 12 pixels with a margin of 5 pixels for spacing between them. The background color is light gray and we use border radius 50% to create a circular appearance. Setting display inline block allows them to align properly, and cursor pointer indicates they are interactive. Finally, we style the active indicator. When a slide is active, we change the background color to dark gray to visually distinguish it from the other indicators. And that's the complete CSS styling for our carousel component. We start by importing the carousel component that we previously created. Here, we create an array called image URLs that holds the URLs of the images we want to display in our carousel. Each URL points to a placeholder image. Inside div, we add a heading that describes our component, Dynamic Carousel in React. Below the heading, we include the carousel component and pass the image URLs array as a prop called images. We also set auto slide to true to enable automatic sliding and specify an interval of 3000 milliseconds for how often the slides should change. Here's a quick demo of a dynamic carousel built with React. This carousel automatically cycles through images every 3 seconds, but users can also navigate manually using the left and right arrows. Each slide has a smooth transition, and clickable indicators at the bottom let users jump to specific slides. This flexible and customizable component can be easily integrated into any React project, with adjustable image sets, auto slide functionality, and interval timing. And that's a wrap. If you find this tutorial helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Stay tuned for upcoming tutorials.